Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, and good morning to those of you on the West Coast in the Central Time Zone. To those who are listening from Israel, from Europe, and parts abroad, a good evening. And today we are blessed with what I would say a treasure to humanity. A young woman who you're going to have a chance to listen and learn from, who not only is a treasure of the Israeli people, but is really a treasure of humanity. Her story, her family's story, is, to quote the book, it's the road less traveled. And their contributions to Israel from where they're coming from is absolutely fascinating, as well as the sacrifices they've made to the Israeli people, to the Jewish world. And without further ado, we'd like to introduce this treasure. Odelia, who happens to be an officer in Chilutz V'Hatzalah. Many of you are familiar with the famous Search and Rescue Division of the Home Front Command. That's the role that she played in the Army. You'll have a chance to hear about that. But before you hear about that, Odelia, would you please share with the listeners, with the participants, a little bit about your family background, your grandparents, your parents, etc., and their journey to Israel?
My name is Odelia. I'm 24 years old. I live in Israel since I was born. And I'm not Jewish, I'm German actually, and we're Christian Germans. My grandparents, they moved from Germany to Israel to running a nursing home for Holocaust survivors after World War II. And so that's how my father ended up in Israel. My mom, she came as a volunteer to the nursing home, and that's how I ended up in Israel, and me and my 4 other siblings.
Odelia, if you can share with us, did you know your grandparents? Do you have a relationship with them?
Yes, of course.
So tell me a little bit about their motivation, where they were in Germany, what motivated them after the war.
Yeah, so my grandparents, they are truly believers, Christian believers, and they believe in God, and been reading the Bible all the time and the New Testament. And so after World War II, my grandfather, he was a little child, and he remembers just one thing, and that's a train passing by with Jewish people inside of them. And so he decided when he was grown up that he wants to move to Israel and do something for Am Israel, for the people of Israel, and especially for those people who survived the Holocaust. And that's how he came to Israel. There's a verse in the Bible for the Goyim, for the people who aren't Jewish. It means Nachamu Nachamu Ami Yomar Elohechem. I mean, I don't know how to say Nachamu, but it's something like
comfort and console.
Probably. I don't know the word for it, but he saw his mission to be there for Am Israel, and that's the reason why he moved to Israel.
Was he married at the time he moved to Israel?
Yes, he was married with 3 children.
Mm-hmm. And your grandparents were Lutheran or they were Catholic?
No, we not Catholic. What is the other one?
Lutheran or Protestant?
No. I forgot the word.
Okay. Where in Germany are they from?
Evangelical Christian.
So they were German evangelical Christians.
Yes.
And yes. Where in Germany were they from?
I'm not so sure, but around the Black Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember the names there.
And their son is your father?
Yes.
Or their son, yes. And then your mother came, you said, as a volunteer to work. What was that common that young Germans would come to volunteer in Israel?
So the idea of the nursing home is not just to help those people in need, those Holocaust survivors. It's also to bring young German people and the young generation to Israel for 1 year as volunteers. They staying at the nursing home. They have their own place, and they're taking care of those people, and they can travel Israel and learn the culture of the Israelis and the Jews. And that's the other thing they are doing. So my mom, she was one of those volunteers. Most of our volunteers are between 18 to 25, something like this. So they finish high school, they don't have to do army. And a lot of churches in Germany decided to cooperate with us, and they heard about us, that we're a Christian organization, and not in purpose to to bring people to Jesus, just to do good for those people. But I think it's a good thing to bring young people from Germany who have no clue about Israel, just hearing that from the Bible and from the belief, and then show them the land, show them those people, and telling them the historical story and what happened in the Shoah, because a lot of people are denying it already.
Where in Israel was the nursing home?
So we have two places. We have one at Ma'alot Tarshiha. It's a small city where I live. It's really close to the Lebanon border. It's 7 kilometers from there. And we have another one in Shavei Zion. It's next to Nahariya, also in the north. So there are two places.
Share with me your experience growing up as a child in northern Israel. Tell us a little bit about the community. Was it a mixed community, a Christian community, a Jewish community?
So at the nursing home is a Christian community. All speak German. My first language was Germany. And I mean, I didn't realize that I'm different than anyone else at school. I thought it's pretty normal. Yes, I'm German. I never had a problem to say it. And no one gave me a feeling that it's not okay or something different. And I had both cultures. I had the German one at home, but my father is pretty much Israeli. My grandparents are Germans, straight Germans. And so I grew up at home with a German community, like a small German kibbutz. And at school, I went to an Israeli normal open school, public school. But it was just regular and normal, not something different or something I would say I felt different than anyone else. You know, everyone in class, there was a Russia, a Moroccan, a Yemen, everyone came from other places of the world. So for me, it was Germany.
That's Israel, Kibbutz Galiyot. It's the United Nations, right, of the world is Israel. So this community that you grew up in, were most of the people in this community in agriculture, or most of the people in this community working in the nursing home? Could you describe the community a little bit?
At the nursing home, the German ones?
I mean, the community you grew up in, the town, the village you grew up in.
Those are Christian Germans. They coming from different evangelic church in Germany that heard about the place, the nursing home, that had friends who have been to our place as volunteers. And I mean, they have to work most of the time. They don't get any money for it. They are volunteering in Israel. They get sleep. We have a dining room together. It's really like a small kibbutz. We eat together. We have a laundry place. My mom works at the laundry at this place. And everyone gets a other job. We have some that are working directly with the survivors, with the Holocaust survivors. We have some working at the garden. We have a beautiful garden. We have some girls at the kitchen, and a lot of different things to do because we're running a big house.
Share with us your experience. In my understanding is you have 3 brothers.
Yes.
The 4 children, your experience after high school in terms of going to the IDF.
Yeah, so I have an older sister and 3 younger brothers. My sister, she was the first one to go to army. I do not remember something, or we've been talking about if yes or no. I can't remember that. It was always obvious that she's going to army, and she went to the Search and Rescue unit as well as a medic. And so I'm pretty close to her. So 1 year later, it was my turn. And the same things. I mean, the school took us to all the tasks we had to done for army 1 year before. So I went with all the children at school, with all this, not student, but with all the with all the children, with my class. I went to the test of the army, and we did it together. And I've been there when my friends, they got in other units, and the boys to commando and special units, and the girls to everyone to another unit. And the same for me. I got to the search and rescue unit, and that's how I went into army. And my brothers, they've been told, and they went to teenagers prepare for army. I mean, they have done a lot of physical things before they went into the army, because they wanted to go to commando and high recommended combat units.
And if you could share with us the units your brothers went to, because it's incredibly impressive.
Yes. So Tsuriel, he went to a special unit, Yechidat Arifaim. I don't think a lot of people know that they opened this unit just a bunch of years ago. It's a new one. They're not talking about what they are doing, and he's actually a sniper. And my Urija, he was in Maglan in the special commando unit. Yeah, that's they don't really tell what they're doing, but they are special commando unit.
I'm good. Before I ask you, because we want to ask you your experiences on October 7th, and then your experiences during the war, which is very crucial for the people listening and participating in this Zoom to appreciate. But before I ask you that, your parents named their children, gave them Hebrew names. Do you also have a German name, or just Hebrew names?
No, just Hebrew names, yes. And also, my dad and all his siblings, they have Hebrew names as well. The name of my dad is Gideon. That's from the Bible. Yes.
For those who are participating, Gideon was one of the Shoftim, one of the judges of the Jewish people. So, Odelia, please share with me share with us your experiences on October 7th.
So before October 7th, I was released from army 1.5 years ago. Now it's even more, almost 2 years. And I end my last position in army in my duty. It was a company commander. So I ended up training my company, and then at the end, I went out of army. I had 1 year gap until the war started. And on October 7th, actually, Urija, he woke me up. I heard him at 7:30 in the morning, waking my mom up. Mom, something happened, and you need to drive me to base. It was really unusual to be called up so early in the morning. I mean, we were used to, sometimes they called my brothers back even on Shabbat, but more afternoon and stuff like this, when they had information something would happen at the West Bank or something like this. So it wasn't unusual, but it was really unusual at the morning. So early in the morning on Shabbat. My mom, she drove him. An hour passed, and Tsuriel called me. He was with his friends traveling. He called me, you need to pick me up. I need to go to base. They called me. Second call. And then the third call was my sister. I drove Tsuriel down, and then I drove Rachel to her base. And at the end, I was called up and back to my old company. So most of the time we've been working at Be'eri. We came 5 days after October 7th. So most of the bodies
I'm phrasing for the people who are participating. Understand that Odelia is a company commander of search and rescue, and that, as many of you know, Kibbutz Be'eri was just devastated. It's on the Gaza border, and it suffered horrifically. I apologize for interrupting, Odelia.
No, that's fine. Thank you. So Be'eri, it was really damaged. I didn't realize until I got to Be'eri what really happened. I mean, I heard a lot of things, but to see it, it's something so different, and it means so. I mean, I started to realize, okay, that's something I couldn't imagine what they have done to those people, but to see all those things and see the houses and moving from one saving room to the other, and all the kibbutz is full with blood. All the houses are full with blood or burned down, or every house has his own story. It was totally different. So our task as search and rescue is to find all the bodies under the bombed and blown up houses. It took us a bunch of days, almost a week, for that. To first of all to find those bodies, and then to recognize them if they are our people or not ours, because after a week you can't really tell. After a while, we still had this long list of missing people. We didn't know what happened to them, and we started to connect it to the burned houses. I mean, most of people think they know how a burned body looks like, and I thought that too. I never worked and never did something like this, but in Be'eri, I understood that I don't know nothing. I remember working in the first house, and it was all burned down, and they told me there is probably someone in here, and you need to find him. So we started looking, and we've been looking for more than 8 hours, and I've been looking for bones, and you know how I think every one of us imagined a burnt body. And just after 2 days that we worked there, they brought us archaeologists, how you say it in English?
Yeah, archaeologists.
Yes, and so she went with me in the house, and I told her, listen, we need to find here something, but we looked in all this house and I couldn't find anything, and we moved all the burnt things and I can't find anything, but there is a missing name here, and it's probably here because all the people saw him in here in this house. And she was sitting on the ground with me, looking at all the ashes, and then they picked up a piece like this, really this small, and she told me, that's a bone, that's a part of a bone. So then I started to realize what we're looking at and what we're searching for, because we're not searching for long bones or, I don't know, a skull or whatever we imagined. We've been looking for pieces like this because they had so much time to burn them down, and there was so much time until the army got there and the firemen and all the things to help out, that the bodies, we couldn't even recognize it as a body. It looked like every piece of ashes at those houses. So we've been looking for pieces like this, and we spent there almost 3 weeks on more than 10 burned houses to find and collect all those small pieces, and we found a lot of them.
You spent 3 weeks just at Kibbutz Be'eri.
Yes, and they're still, even after I left, because I needed to go into Gaza, but after I left, the archaeologists, they keep searching there and searching, and every day you could find something else and more information and more things and hair, and it was a never-ending zone. Like, I knew every morning I'm going to find something else, and we probably going to find another name and another name and another name, and more collecting pieces of information about what happened to every one of those people.
You were called to lead a team into Gaza. Could you describe your job there?
Yeah, so after I ended in Be'eri, the order officer, he came back to the company. So I went into Gaza with my officer and with 3 companies inside. But I wasn't directly their officer. I was more with helping out the brigade or battalion, Gedud. I don't know really how to...
Yeah, Gedud is a battalion. Usually
a battalion, yeah. So
around 500 soldiers, is that correct?
Yes, around 500. So
you were assisting the battalion commander.
Yes, I was directly with her, helping her make decisions and helping her to spread out the other officers and the companies and all the things, because we've been a lot of soldiers inside there. We got a lot of different missions inside Gaza because our unit was never in Gaza like this for a long period of time. And so it was something really new for the army prefers not to put women inside of the war zones, and I get it. But in this case, because of the hostages and the wars and the war zone, it might be, and there were a big chance that hostages are under bombed houses or somewhere that the army can't get there without the search and rescue unit, because we are the only unit in the whole IDF that can do such a thing. And finally, we have the dogs and we have cameras and we have a lot of things to find it. And they got a lot of information about terrorists they caught, and they told them where they might be or might have been, or which one of them were killed. So we didn't get names of the hostages, but they told us, you go there is a house, it's bombed, and there are probably hostages. And so that was the main mission in Gaza for us.
Where were you, in Gaza City, in Khan Yunis, Beit Hanun? Where were you?
I don't think I'm allowed to tell. I think that's something I'm not allowed.
We won't ask it then.
But in north of Gaza, we've been around in a lot of places in north of Gaza.
Just to contextualize what an incredible unit, Kibbutz Be'eri, the search and rescue, of which Odelia is a commander in. In the earthquake in Turkey, there were over 20 different countries that sent, emergency units, that sent field units. Most of them were unable to save any lives. A couple of them saved one life. The Russian team saved 2 lives. The Israeli team, Odelia's unit, Kibbutz Be'eri, saved 19 lives. On top of that, they set up a field hospital in Turkey where they took care of over 500 different patients. Many of us know them. They were brought in to the Surfside tragedy. Many of us know that we've had them on our briefings. I'm trying to think of the name of the Colonel Alon Edry. Alon Edry is number of times.
Elad Edry, yes.
Elad Edry, thank you. So just to give you a context, they've been to Haiti. They've done tsunami relief. They've been all over the world. And this is the group that not only is Odelia part of, but she was a commander in. She came back, as a reservist and led a team in Gaza. I apologize for interrupting. Please go ahead, Odelia.
No, that's correct. And it made us really upset at the beginning of the war when Turkey announced that they don't want to have nothing to do with us. And so I had a lot of soldiers that have been in Turkey at those missions, and you feel just, we help them out and they don't even appreciate that. But that's how the IDF works. We're better than any other ones, and the heart of the people is on the right place, and that's something you can't take from the IDF. But most of them doesn't understand it. So we've been in Gaza. I've been almost just 2 weeks because the unit stayed for longer. And my officer, not battalion, how you say?
Yeah,
brigade.
Battalion.
But no, the brigade officer.
Okay, yes, brigade. Chativa is a brigade and a gadud is a battalion.
As battalion, yeah. So that my battalion officer, we had a mission at night and we were preparing for it, and I was really excited because we probably would find something on this mission, and I would be one of those soldiers who would been choosing to go to this mission. And I was preparing myself for it, and then she came to me, told me, Odelia, you go out, just like this. And I was like, no, I'm not. I want to stay here. She was, no, you need to go out. And I was like, I don't understand you. Why? What happened? And then she told me your brother got injured, and we were really close to our camping place was really close to the helicopter landing place where they took all the injured soldiers from the north of Gaza. So I've been seeing the whole day long all the injured soldiers coming, loading up on the helicopters and flying to Israel the whole day long. I've been seeing a lot of injured soldiers there. And we heard the names, we knew which unit, and I was like, how could it be? Because I didn't heard his name from those soldiers, and then I realized it was something in the probably of south of Gaza, and then it ended up being Urija. Tzurel was in the north with me, and Urija was south with his team. So I didn't have my phone and I didn't have anything. They took me out immediately, and I got my phone back. I was like, okay, calm down. A lot of injured soldiers, they're getting out of their injured and ending up being fine. And I was like, the only thing I'm asking you, God, is please not head injured, because most of the soldiers who are head injured ending up dead. And I came to the hospital. They drove me until the hospital. I came, I spoke with the doctor, and guess what? He was head injured. It was really hard. My parents, they had a long drive from the north. It took them almost 4 hours to come with a taxi. So it was way harder for them, knowing all the way that their son is injured and they can't get to him as fast as they could. And yeah, we've been praying all the time. A lot of people came by. Surya was released from Gaza. And we've been sitting and just waiting what would happen. He got a bullet in his head. And the doctors, they made a lot of checkings and trying to find a way, maybe yes, maybe not. And after 4 days, they told us that they can't help him and his brain is dead. It was too hard damage and a lot of blood was coming out all the time. So his head was dead, his brain. And yeah, that's how it ended. I don't know how to say it in English. My brave parents, they decided, yes, okay, sorry. We had to decide to remove him from the machines and all the things. And they decided it after 4 days when they told us there's nothing to do and he's not with us and he's not going to come. And he's breathing only because of the machines, not because he would do it without. Yeah, and 2 days later we had a funeral.
We read in the United States, there were a number of articles about your brother Urija and about your family, and the sacrifice that for 3 generations your family had made for the Jewish people, for the state of Israel. Could you share with us, and I apologize, I know this is a difficult place to go, what it was like in the aftermath of your brother's death?
What was it like? What?
Meaning, did people reach out?
Yeah, so
the support that was given to your family, the support that was given to you, your siblings, if you could describe or talk a little bit about that, the experiences that you went through having to bury your younger brother, what your parents went through having to bury a child.
Yeah. So I think you don't really understand until a little bit of time passed by, because it was at the funeral, it was just, I can't really believe that this is happening to us, and I don't think it's real. And you always get the feeling like, okay, tomorrow it's probably coming back at home. We're used to, the last 5 years I've been in the army, so I came home every 2 to 4 weeks. Like it took a long time to come home every time, especially at Corona time. So we've been used not to see each other for a long period of time, because we are all soldiers. We've been 3 soldiers together in the army on the regular duty, me, Tzurel, and Urija. So it wasn't hard to not see him for a long time, and it feels like, okay, he's gonna come back probably in 2 weeks and everything is fine. I do remember the morning of the funeral, been a bunch of people outside of our house holding Israel flags, and all the way to the, how do you say, where you bury the people?
The cemetery.
Yeah, and all the way it was like 4 kilometers away from our home to the how you say it?
Cemetery.
Cemetery, full with people. All the schools closed early this day just to bring all the students out with Israel flags and helping. Sorry. Yeah, so we got a lot of support, and the city, they know us. All the schools, they knew the place, and a lot of the people who live around us know that about the nursing home, and most of them have been to our nursing home visiting or anything else. And the shiva, my parents decided they wanted shiva after the funeral. It was really filling the heart. I think it did a lot of good to my parents to see how much people appreciate what they have done and how they raised us. And I'm young, and I always see just like this because I grew up, and it's obvious for me, yeah, I'm Israeli first and then just German or anything else, and I don't really like titles, but I'm Israeli first before everything else. But now I realize more and more that it's really special to have parents like mine and grandparents like mine that see the whole picture, not just their own life and the life they could have in Germany and with their families and with their friends and everything, and they left everything, especially my mom, to come and help Am Yisrael, because she truly believed that that is the way to show Am Yisrael that God loves them. And that's the reason she gave up everything in Germany to come and be a volunteer there. They're not working in Israel, they're volunteering still. And she sent it for our children at the 7th of October to war, and knowing that 4 of us are in combat units. And she knew it could happen. She knew it. But you're always hoping it's not your child. That's how she's saying it. Yeah.
Odelia, you had mentioned to me that there were relatives in Germany who, because of their exposure to the media in Europe, etc., didn't even reach out to express their condolences. Are you willing to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my mom, she grew up at a the strict church. Like the people there, they're really truly really good people. They don't harm anyone. They have a great belief in God. But they have a lot of promise to understand why we need to hold a gun and why we have to, a gun is something not good. And I agree, I would prefer not to hold a gun. I would prefer not to have the IDF if we wouldn't need it. And it wouldn't. So I would prefer peace, that's it. When you grew up, I think when you grew up in Germany, without any problems, you don't have wars there, you are always protected, you don't know what is the army. And then knowing that your own family is going in Israel, like, why are you going in the army of Israel? You're not even Jewish. And knowing that they choose and we choose to go to combat units, they see it like units, they just, if you're holding a gun, you're probably gonna kill someone one day. They don't understand. It's not working like this. We're holding a gun to protect ourselves, not to kill. That's not the purpose of the gun. It's to protecting people and not to kill. But it's really hard to explain it to someone who doesn't know the situation in Israel, who doesn't know that if I'm holding a gun, 7th of October can happen in my house, can happen in your house, and can happen in everyone's house in Israel, because we have enemy everywhere around us. And so after knowing that we're in combat units is something different than knowing that Urija died because he went to war, and it's a war that he could choose not to go. And I agree with him. He could say, okay, it's not my war. I live here. I'm doing good already to other people. Why do I need to go to army? And some of those people in Germany, I think they are really good people, but they don't understand the situation in Israel and don't understand that we are part of the Israeli of Am Israel. We feel a part of it. So I don't see a difference between me and my friend who lives a door next to me. Why does she have to do army and not me? I mean, the army is protecting us Germans in Israel all the time, and they don't make a difference. They don't. I mean, the aerodrome, it's next to our city. We live in the north, and all the time we have rockets coming up to our house. And Israeli army is protecting my house as any other house at our city, and I'm not a Jew. And my turn to help out. So that's what we think, but it's really hard to tell and to explain people in Germany why we're doing army and why we choose combat units, why we're holding a gun. And it's just different. Yes.
You're following in the footpaths of King David. He was the man of religion and theology, and he was the defender of Israel. You're following in the footsteps of Moses. He was the greatest educator and teacher and rabbi there was, and at the same time, he was the leader of the Israeli army, that conquered the whole east bank of the Jordan River. So,
and in the Bible, there is, I'm always saying, because we are Christians, and for them it's hard, like Christians, and we're people of God, and a gun is something not good, and going to a combat unit is something not good because it's not godly. And in the Bible there is the second one of the names of God is Elohei Tzevaot. I don't know how to explain to translate it to English.
God of the legions.
Yes. So Elohei Tzevaot, he is a God, and the whole Bible is full with fights they had and Am Israel had since then. But explain it to someone who doesn't live in Israel and doesn't even want to see what is happening and doesn't understand that October 7th happened because army wasn't there.
You've not had a lot of time, since the loss of your brother. But, in looking back, at the life of your parents, what your parents are going through, what you and your siblings are going through, any thoughts that you can share with us? And I apologize for the difficult question.
And you need to ask me again. I didn't understand that.
If you can share with us, the feelings your parents have, looking back after having to bury a son, you as your younger brother, the experience, the feelings that your parents have had and about their life, about their experience since the war.
Yeah, so my parents are the strongest people I know, I think. Even at the hospital, when there was a chance that Urija would get out, or we thought there would be a chance, they always tell all the people who came by, and everyone was telling stories about they know someone who got out of such an injured. And even then, they've been telling all the people, if God wants, he gave him to us, and we had him 20 years. And if he wants to take him, it's his right. I have a little bit difficulty with this. I'm a little bit angry about it because but they see it like this, and it's something I think not many people can see, and they truly believe that they're gonna see him again in heaven. I believe so too, but they really live like this, and they like, he gave him to us, and he was a present for us for 20 years, and if he could move the bullet 25 centimeters and it wouldn't hit his head, but it did. And it did to Urija. His whole team was in the room while he was hit by this bullet, and it could hit anyone, but it hit just Urija, and 5 millimeters it wouldn't hit him. And they believe it's the way, and God gave him to us 20 years ago, and now he's taking him for us. and they are really happy about the time they had with him.
You know, Odelia, I really want to thank you on behalf of all of us, friends of the IDF, for the many years that you gave to Israel, the many years that you continue to give to Israel, but really to show our gratitude as Jews. And, you know, from a theological point of view, the hallmark of a Jew is a profoundly grateful person. We have a philosopher, Rabbeinu Bachai, he says, what does it mean to be a Jew? It means to be someone who has a profound sense of gratitude. And the Jewish people are incredibly grateful to your grandparents, to your parents, to your brother Urija of blessed memory, Zichrona Livracha, and to you, your sister, and your brothers. You know, you're role models to all of us, to world Jewry. And we cherish you, and there's no way that we can thank you, because you as a family have made the ultimate sacrifice. You as a family for 3 generations have sacrificed for Am Yisrael. And you're a treasure. And your parents are a treasure, your siblings are a treasure. Are there any last thoughts you may want to share with us?
Last thoughts?
Last thoughts, or any
last thoughts
you want to share with us?
I mean, everyone is always so thankful and all on this speeches I am doing and talking to people. For me, it's more important to understand the situation in Israel. It's my situation with the family. It's pretty normal, and I haven't seen it so different until Urija died, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what's going on with this family?" But I'm truly grateful for my grandfather that he chose to move to Israel. And as I said, I'm a full Israelian, and I don't feel any different, and I feel that I'm doing something different than anyone else around me. My parents did, my grandparents did, but I'm already in Israel and I grew up, and it's, for me, it's normal, and it's not something special. And I want just people to understand what's going on in Israel. And there's a lot of hate against Jews and a lot of unfair things going on against Israel. And it makes me really upset to know that a lot of people around the world aren't believe that October 7th happened and denying it already. And a lot of people, it's not just my family who sacrificed someone. It's more than 600 soldiers that died for this land now. And even though there's people around the world who doesn't believe that it happened. And yeah, I don't really know what I wanted to say. That's it.
Well, you for sure are one of the first witnesses that can share what happened, because you were the one who had to clean up the atrocities of October 7th. You are that witness.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. One thing I want to say while Odelia just is going is that of the many programs we're funding for bereaved families, the bereaved families reached out to the Ministry of Defense, and they agreed together with the Ministry of Defense that a professional video will be made that will be an eternal memory of the life of all of the fallen, with professional videographers and editing, going through the childhood, the adolescence, their passions, their relationships with their family, their friends, their role in the army. And this is something amongst many, many programs that we're funding to the tune of well over $20 million for bereaved families. This is a very, very unique program, because unlike all of the other programs that we're funding, where the Ministry of Defense feels that for financial support, for emotional support, the programs are necessary, this is a program where the families of the fallen actually came and met with the casualty department. There's a gentleman by the name of Aryeh Mu'allim who heads that department of the Ministry of Defense. And that's something amongst many of the requests that we get from the Ministry of Defense to fund. It is that eternal legacy, eternal memory, a very, very professionally made biography, professionally made video of the life, movie of the life of documentary, I guess we would call it, of each of the fallen. I apologize, Odelia. Just you were saying.
No, I think I'm finished. Yes.
Look, God bless you, your family, your parents, your siblings. And again, we have profound respect and awe for the sacrifices that the 3 generations of your family has made for Am Yisrael, for the building of Israel, for the development of Israel as a society, as a people, as a land. And you are the best friends the Jewish people could ever ask for. And you're our role models.
Thank you.